Okay, everyone, welcome to the seventh JSALT workshop, or the 26th, I believe, in the series of the Johns Hopkins summer workshops, which started way back in 1995. Today is the closing presentation of JSALT 2020. The agenda for the morning is that after some brief opening remarks from me, you will hear from the one of the two teams that worked on an interesting project this summer, the Recognition and Diarization team led by Zuo Chen, and that will take up the rest of the morning. And then tomorrow, we'll have a presentation from Alex Rudnicki's team that worked on dialogue modeling and evaluation. Just as a matter of housekeeping, we do want this to be interactive. All the speakers have allocated time within their talks for Q&A. So often it's like a 15-minute talk plus 5 minutes for Q&A. So please feel free to ask questions. The best way to do it is to raise the virtual hand in your Zoom participant panel and pane, and I'll be able to see it, and I will enable your microphone, and you'll be able to ask questions orally. I know some people still prefer writing, that's okay too, and we'll try and handle that as we go. It's hard for the speaker to pay attention to the Q&A box while giving the presentation, so sometimes there might be a delay, or the moment for asking your question might be gone. So better to raise your hand. Also, panelists and others will keep their mic and camera muted except when they're speaking, so hopefully you'll only see the main speaker and the slides. And last but not the least, we are going to record this presentation, so your participation in this basically gives your consent to being recorded, and we will put up the video recording after some light editing on the JSALT website in a few days. Okay, with that, let me get going. This is the seventh workshop named after Fred Jelinek, and the 26th in the series that we've been having at Johns Hopkins since 1995. So the planning for this started, this sounds like I started using this term, the before COVID and after COVID. So this is 6 months BC, back in September, that we put out a call for proposals saying, hey, we're going to do another workshop this summer. Do people have ideas in speech technology, NLP, multimodal HLP, dialogue, and so on and so forth. And we got a nice response. We received 11 proposals, of which 10 were quite viable. So we invited the authors of those 10 to come to a 2-day planning meeting. 9 of them accepted. One who was in Europe but had a South American passport had some issues traveling, so that person didn't come. And then we had a nice meeting. There were 33 researchers, including the authors of these 9 proposals, a nice mix of academia and industry. This has been a hallmark of our workshops, that it is really a joint effort to bring in people from very different backgrounds and priorities to work together on shared problems. 3 proposals were selected for pursuit, and 2 of them went on to become projects, and 1 of them was held back because along came this spiky blob, as I like to call it, and it played a little bit of havoc with our plans. So, and things were going well until early March, and then once the university decided to close down in response to the pandemic, we were wondering whether to have the workshop at all. So there was a week in March when we thought maybe we should just cancel the whole thing. But there was so much momentum building up with all the preparatory work that Zuo and Alex will tell you about, that we felt, no, we have to give it a shot and let's make it an experiment and try to work remotely. And I can say in hindsight now, 7 weeks later, that yes, it has been a pretty successful experience. We've done quite well. So we decided to give it a go, as I said, and the 2 teams that decided to continue were the ASR and dialogue team, and the team that's going to work on sign language recognition. They need much more interaction because it's bringing in computer vision and ASR people together, and they felt that they just couldn't pull it off if they were all remote, so they are just preparing in the background, and we'll have them next year. So the 2 teams that you are going to hear from today and tomorrow, one is titled Speech Recognition and Diarization for Unsegmented Multi-talker Recordings with Speaker Overlaps. So this is basically tackling the speech recognition problem in the wild as it comes, with many people, overlaps, and so on and so forth. It's led by my new friend, Zuo Chen from Microsoft, and I'll tell you in a minute why I say new friend. And it has a number of distinguished researchers, Nico Brummer, Mark Delacroix, Jun Du, Hakan, Keisuke, Johan, and Shinji, and then a number of graduate students. One nice thing because of this remote format is that we were able to accommodate many more people in the team than we normally would because of space and budget constraints here at Hopkins. So it has somehow been a plus, even though working remotely has been a challenge. The other group is led by my old friend, and I said new so that Alex doesn't think old refers to his age, it just refers to how long we've known him. Alex Rudnicki from CMU, and that has Luis Fernando de Haro, Rahul Gupta and Lazaros Polymenakos from Amazon, and Zhao Sedok, and a number of graduate students in that team as well, and many other affiliates who are not able to dedicate the full 6-7 weeks full time, but nonetheless participated intensively to make this team happen. And this team focused on both dialogue modeling and evaluation. On the modeling side, the focus was on doing what people sometimes call speech to intent, figuring out a person's intent in saying something, and then also looking at how to evaluate dialogue. Because if you have goal-directed things, it's one thing you can measure whether the user achieved their goal or not. But in chat or just conversational interactions, it's a little bit more subtle as to how one should assess the quality of the conversation. So they focused on a pretty hard evaluation problem as well. We started with an opening presentation on June 22nd. Many of you may have attended that. And then through the workshop, we had a number of other structured activities. So every Monday morning, we used to have a 1-hour progress report. The idea was both a little bit on my part to put pressure on people saying, hey, what have you done this week? Show me some progress. But more importantly, it was meant for the teams to sort of show their early work, get feedback from their colleagues, have interactions between the two teams so that each one knows what the other one is doing, and therefore sort of grow everybody's experience and knowledge, learn from other people working on related but different problems. The other highlight of our workshop has always been plenary lectures. So we invite distinguished speakers who are not in the workshop, but are working on, let's just say, related problems, sufficiently close that it'll inspire our work, but sufficiently far that it's new and different and makes us think about new things. And we were originally planning to have our final presentation on July 31st, as some of you may remember. One of the things of the remote format is that we felt we hadn't been as efficient as we would be if we had been in person. So we decided to extend it by a week. And so now you're here today listening to the final presentations. So just before I stop and hand over to Zoe to do the main part of today, let me take a moment first to thank our excellent plenary lecturers. We had Zoe Yu from UC Davis, who's now moving to Columbia, Jonathan LaRue from Merle, Ivan Medennikov from STC Innovations in St. Petersburg, and now Yuki Kanda. I always think of him as the Hitachi man, but now at Microsoft, and Milica Gasic from Düsseldorf University. We had really nice lectures, good interactions. The speakers did something interesting this year. Even though we had said you have an hour or hour 15, many of them decided to talk only for about 30, 35, 40 minutes and really dedicate half an hour to discussion. And I thought that really went well. So I'm thinking going forward, we'll tell our plenary speakers to budget time for discussion, and it really worked out very well. And last but not the least, we have to thank the sponsors of the workshop, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. They have really been terrific. Even though we didn't have an in-person workshop, they still stepped up with the liberal support we needed. So Microsoft, for example, gave us a large amount of Azure credits that we are working with, and some money to do some of the administrative things like hosting and recording and post-producing this webinar. Same thing with Amazon. They gave us AWS credits. I probably should name individuals, and I'll do that when I close up tomorrow, as to who in Amazon and Microsoft and Google have been our strongest advocates. The danger is that we have way too many friends in these companies who like the workshop and advocate for its support. So again, thank you, Amazon. Thank you, Google. Thank you, Microsoft. And with that, I will stop and let you get on with the program. So Zoe, I'm going to stop sharing and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thanks a lot for the organizing this very exciting event. It's pretty enjoyable for I believe for all of us. So now I'm going to do the presentation.